All right. Great. Happy 2020. And we're glad to be back here for our first meeting. And I'm glad it's with my fine co-chairman, Chairman P.K. Martin. You know, I think those of y'all who seen us rookie education chairmen operate last year, I hope you were proud of the job we did. We both were new and both really took it very seriously, and I think passed a lot of good bills. I appreciate working with you.
Likewise.
But before we get started, in earnest, I want Mike Glanton to lead us in a word of prayer to get us started this year.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would you pray with me? Most heavenly and gracious God, we just come before you on this day and this hour and this second that only you could have granted. Father, thanking you for just being the great I am. Father, we ask your blessings over this committee and its leadership and every member that are a participant. And Father, we just thank you for once again giving us an opportunity to come together collectively on one mind and one common goal to do what's best for the children in this great state of Georgia. We pray these in all things in the mighty and unmatched name of Jesus the Christ, and those who believe said, Amen.
We were telling Mike, Representative Glanton, real quickly, I said, we need to thank God for working overtime in the last week down here. It's been tough. I mean, we've had an interesting world. But, you know, we appreciate being here. I've got, and I'll turn some folks I need to introduce to the House members. Folks in the audience, what's going on right now, their governor is doing a gang GBI kickoff. A lot of our members are there. Also on the House side, there are appropriations meetings and higher ed, education, all sorts of things going on also. So that's why you'll see people coming and going as the meeting goes on. But first, I want to introduce our admin. Lisa, stand up there. Yay. She's new to us, but I think that you're going to find that Miss Lisa Fountain's a very accomplished and does a great job. And all the rumors that people told her about me were true, and that I needed somebody to kind of anchor us and keep us organized, and she's doing a great job. Where's Macon at? Here's Macon. Now, you know, fortunately, if there's any higher ed people in here, we get great interns. Macon has just been wonderful. Every morning when I'm there at 7:30, she gets in, hey, what can I do to help you? And for committee, I think you'll love working with Macon. She's going to make our lives easier, and I appreciate you so much. And I said, hey, go get us some water. She's doing it. She's just great. It's a great friend. And for both PK and I, Michael Walker. Yay. Now, if you didn't clap and you got a bill in Legislative Council on education, we hope that we have that on video. Because when I went in there yesterday, you've been to see him too, I'm sure the man is covered up. Those y'all are just like working overtime to make sure that Michael Walker feels welcome and overworked. But we appreciate what you're doing for us and being there, you know, for sure. And just lastly, I can't ever start it and talk about a meeting without talking about Courtney George. I know all of y'all use Courtney. Yay, we think you're wonderful. I know a lot of members ask Courtney a lot of questions, and we really appreciate the work she does.
And she's my constituent.
And she's your constituent. All right.
So she's my favorite constituent.
There we go. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Jaspers, and P.K. Martin. Glad to be back again after a first year, and enjoyed my time very much. We do have returning this year Miss Megan Mowers, my admin, and Lauren Venata is here again from Senate Research.
Okay.
And then we do have a new Senate press person, Ms. Kesrin Horvath. I hope I said it right. I did. Awesome. And then last and certainly not least, a good tequila boy, Mr. Joseph King, who is the Senate aide for the Education Committee this year.
Well, let's get started. We're proud to have Superintendent Woods here, and he's going to talk. He's got some to introduce to us. We look forward to hearing from him and them, and we'll turn it over to you, and you guys are on.
Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the House and Senate Ed Committee. It's a pleasure to be with you once again. Thank you for the opportunity today to come before you. And even though we could speak on many different things in education, a lot of great things going on throughout the state, I'm pleased to say, and look forward to many more great things taking place. But at your request, we are here to discuss literacy, and what's going on across the state and what's been, happening over the past few years since taking office. But for myself, reading, I think, is probably, as I share with many people, and the ability, to be an accomplished reader is probably one, if not the most important things we do in education. I don't care where you go in life, what class you take. You've got to have the ability to read and to be successful above and beyond K-12 that, continues on. And even for myself, I'm very appreciative of my mother, who always made sure that I had books in my hand. That was one thing as my dad was serving in the U.S. Navy and was about. I could just remember the book clubs and things that we're a part of. And in fact, if you're up in my office, you see my collection of Dr. Seuss books that I had when I was a child. With that. And, and as an individual, even as a high school social studies teacher, understanding, the value of being able to read. That is something I think that, we definitely cannot say enough about. My wife, who was a 30-year teacher in K and 1 and 2, in the last 9 years, a reading recovery specialist, probably some of the best work that she did, and really just loved making that difference one child at a time. And as we, look and move forward, and as I came into office, that was one of the things that I really wanted us to focus on is really hitting reading, and especially in the early grades in K-3. Finding an individual, I think, that really is unsurpassed as far as I'm concerned about her ability to really look at, to research, and her knowledge on in literacy, Dr. Caitlin Dooley, which I'm appreciative that, she decided to come on board, an accomplished career over at Georgia State, and now with us going on, I think, 6 years or right there at. So I appreciate that. But I'm going to turn it over to her and let her share the work that she has led her team with, over the past few years in, teaching and learning. And just, again, for myself, if we could be of any help, if I could be of any help, please do not hesitate to reach out. Here with me, I know, is, I think, Tiffany Taylor and Carrie, and I think Matt Cardoza somewhere. But if you need anything from policy, those are 3 individuals that will be your point of contact. So, Dr. Dooley, I'll turn it over to you.
Good afternoon. Forgive me for reading a little bit of this, but you do have the copy of it as well with the notes, and so you can follow along. Thank you for this opportunity to provide an update on the status of literacy in the early grades in Georgia's K-12 public schools. Along with our efforts to improve literacy attainment of our students, as you know, literacy is a crucial building block of students' future successes. The state of Georgia has set as a priority that all students will be on track to reading on grade level by 3rd grade. Public agencies, private partners, and educational institutions at the state, regional, and local levels are working together in pursuit of this goal. It's not working. There we go. First, I want to give you an overview of the data on Georgia students' literacy performance. There are 2 measures that we use. Our state lens is Georgia Milestones. It's the state assessment for students in grades 3 through 12. Georgia's Milestones English Language Arts, or ELA, assessment measures the domains of reading, writing, and language. It also includes a specific grade level reading measurement. Each student receives a Lexile score, which is a nationally recognized measurement of reading ability based on the reading questions in the ELA assessment. To give us a national lens, we can compare the students' performance on the National Assessment of Educational Progress, or NAEP, with the performance of students nationally. NAEP tests a representative sample of students in 4th and 8th grade every other year. It's important to note that the data from this nationally normed assessment is useful for comparison, but it's not a measurement of grade level reading. According to the National Assessment Governing Board, the independent board that sets policy for NAEP and is responsible for developing the framework and test specifications, it says NAEP proficient means competency over challenging subject matter. It's not the same as being on grade level, which refers to the performance on local curriculum and state standards. Here you'll see students' performance on the Georgia Milestones grade level reading measurement. As a reminder, that's the measurement that produces the Lexile score, which is a nationally recognized measurement of reading ability. As of 2019, 73% of Georgia's third graders are reading at or above grade level. That's a 5% percentage increase from the previous year. This chart highlights a point that State School Superintendent Woods made last week to the Joint Appropriations Committee. Poverty remains one of our biggest challenges in K-12 education here in Georgia. As you can see here, students who are not economically disadvantaged have a slightly higher rate of grade level reading than their peers who are economically disadvantaged. We know we can't expect students to learn when they've been suffering the effects of poverty at the same rate of their peers. So that's why we're committed to a whole child approach that addresses the non-academic barriers to academic achievement. We remain committed to overcoming this challenge of poverty, and we are seeing improvements in literacy with our economically disadvantaged students. Taking a look at NAEP scores, Georgia's students perform similarly to their national counterparts in reading. Georgia's fourth grade students experienced a slight increase in performance between 2015 and 17 and a slight decrease from 2017 and 19. This is consistent with the national trend. It's also important to note that we don't expect to see 100% proficiency on NAEP. For context, Massachusetts, which is consistently one of the highest performing states in the nation, has a NAEP reading proficiency rate of 45%. Building on this data, we have a comprehensive statewide strategy to continue improving literacy outcomes in Georgia. Our approach to improving literacy in Georgia focuses on the key tenets of supporting strong instruction, improving school literacy supports, and leveraging resources and partnerships. We're working in concert with agency and community partners to leverage resources through federal grants and other funding opportunities, and we work with districts and schools directly to support and improve their literacy instruction strategies and offerings. And we're ensuring that these efforts are aligned with our strategy to support the lowest performing schools. When our L4GA grant winners create their literacy plans, they're aligned to the 4 pillars of the Get Georgia Reading campaign: language nutrition, access, positive learning climate, and teacher preparation and effectiveness. We've expanded our partnerships with community partners, including local governments, businesses, health departments, public libraries, faith-based organizations, and recreation departments. And we're centering all of our work on the whole child, ensuring that we are removing non-academic barriers to learning that so often affect a student's literacy attainment. We've partnered with GOSA and the 16 regional education service agencies, or RESAs, to implement Growing Readers. Growing Readers provides consistent, high-quality professional learning to teachers on effective reading instruction. It's essential that we teach teachers how to teach reading, ensuring that they know how to identify struggling readers and how to deliver effective interventions. We've also matched state funding with federal funds to ensure that this program is targeting our lowest performing schools. We've been able to secure competitive grant funds to fund our Literacy for Learning, Living, and Leading in Georgia efforts, or L4GA. In 2017, we were awarded a competitive grant of $61.5 million, and because of the strength of our literacy plan in 2019, we received the largest grant award of any state in the nation at $179 million. In the second round of L4GA, awarded districts will direct 15% of their funding to early learning, 40% to elementary schools, 20% to middle schools, and 20% to high schools. And that is within a feeder pattern. So we fund at the community level, and then we fund the schools that serve that particular community, elementary or early childhood, elementary, middle, and high. This community approach to awarding funds targets the entire pattern so that we change the trajectory of that community. We prioritize funding for the lowest performing schools and schools in high poverty areas. We work with L4GA schools to help them create a plan for strategic use of their grant funds. We've provided in-person and technical support through virtual assistance, and we've used our network to expand the assistance available, partnering with such organizations like the Georgia Partnership for Excellence in Education, Get Georgia Reading, GOSA, and Literacy for All. We've also paired schools who are newer to this work with schools who've successfully implemented a plan already. Schools are using their L4GA funds to purchase screeners and formative assessments, to shore up their resources and interventions, to provide professional learning and training for their educators, and to develop strong community partnerships to support literacy development for children from birth through grade 12. In the first L4GA grant cycle, we were able to fund 38 school districts, serving approximately 200,000 students from birth through grade 12. 23 of the 38 school districts were from rural communities. We've seen significant progress in the first round of L4GA implementation. The graph you see here shows Georgia Milestone's grade level reading gains from 2018 to 2019 in the first year of implementation for third and fifth graders in these L4GA schools. The grant has produced a 6.7 percentage point increase for third grade and a 4.1 percentage increase for fifth graders in those schools that we serve. We look forward to building on the progress of the first grant with the second L4GA grant award. District applications for this second award will be due February 10th, and the grants are awarded in late spring. We'll prioritize the lowest performing school as we award funding. It's also essential that we pair our literacy efforts with our work to lift up the lowest performing schools. We've prioritized L4GA grant funding for these schools specifically. We offer them priority attendance for our summer literacy institutes. We're working to expand the reach of Growing Readers initiatives into the later grades, and we've increased funding to move our Reset ELA, or English Language Arts specialists, from part-time to full-time, and directed them to spend 70% of their time in the lowest performing schools. As we continue our work to support and improve student literacy, challenges and opportunities remain. The reality is that students come to school with different levels of literacy readiness. The good news is that the longer we have students in our schools, the better their literacy attainment gets. Georgia is getting better faster, and we have an opportunity to overcome our literacy challenges. We must maintain our focus on literacy throughout the K-12 education system. We spent a lot of time highlighting the importance of reading by third grade, but we can't stop there. Additional supports are needed to ensure that our educators have the skills and capacity to support literacy. We currently have elementary school teachers who are required to be experts in all content areas and form the foundation of students' learning. The current model doesn't necessarily provide for specialization within elementary school teachers. in contrast to their middle and high school counterparts. So we're actively working with our higher education partners and the Professional Standards Commission to find solutions to address these challenges. Finally, we need to have an eye on sustainability and continuity of these efforts. We're grateful for the federal grant support for the next 5 years, but we will need to be proactive about the sustainability of our literacy efforts going forward. Thank you again for the opportunity to provide an update on our work to ensure that all Georgia students have the ability to read on grade level, and through that, the ability to learn throughout their lives. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Dooley. I'm sure we'll start with 19, Representative Glanton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Dooley, for your presentation. My question in regards to truancy. Obviously, you made the statement that, you know, they're not in the seat, they can't learn. And so, do we have a problem with truancy? Over the years, we've had some real problems with it. And if so, do you have data for specific districts or counties or municipalities that we could look at to know what status truancy is in our particular areas?
So we do have a climate rating scale that has attendance as part of that, and that's publicly reported. But truancy, you mean lateness to class?
Well, what I mean is both attendance and
okay.
yeah, not
So
being in
that's-
school.
That's publicly reported, and if you have the need for specific data, we can get back to you with specific data on that. But our climate rating incorporates a metric on attendance as well, within that metric. And we report all of that publicly.
All right, I'd appreciate if I could get something specific
Sure.
to my county, my district, my school district. I
We can do
appreciate it.
that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Dickerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for that report. I heard you talk a lot about low-performing schools. Do you all still have any data on those schools that are performing very low? And what are we doing to help those schools, or, you know, these students with wraparound services and other things that will help them perform? I mean, this is a couple of questions, but it's all related. And I know we did a study on emotional and mental health for kids that, you know, 0 through 3 years of age, to see, you know, what we can do to help them, because that's critical at that point. So I just would like to know what you're doing with those kids, as well as those low-performing schools. And do you have any data on those that are still low-performing?
So the first question you asked is about low-performing schools.
Yes, because you
and what we're
mentioned it
doing
a
for
lot.
Wraparound, yeah.
Yes.
So we have, in K-12, we have a way to identify low-performing schools, and that's through our CCRPI, our College Career Readiness Performance Index. And then we have a federal identifier called Targeted and Comprehensive. So we have that list. It comes out each year, and we have targets for them to improve. And then we provide services through our school and district effectiveness office. And I can have someone send you a report about all the things that we provide for that.
Okay.
We also provide right now, some of the big parts that we're doing in order to serve the whole child is we have a director who's directly reporting to the superintendent now to serve, to get even more schools serving the whole child so that they don't fall into that low-performing area. But those people who are serving the whole child, we call them wraparound support specialists. And we now have someone at every RESA, every Regional Education Service Agency, placed there as a wraparound support specialist. So they can work with the districts and get those supports in place. And again, we can provide more information on the specific schools that you need information about, but and a general map of what we do for low-performing schools, so that you can have that information. But one of the things I want to mention with L4GA specifically is that when we are improving instruction, we are also supporting the community partnerships that would be provided to support students in their non-academic needs. So with L4GA funds, we do see districts hiring wraparound support specialists, and we've also worked directly with the Get Georgia Reading Campaign, Literacy for All, and GOSA, and the RESAs are involved in this work as well, to ensure that if you're in a community, that you're utilizing the services that are available in that community. They may be governmental services. A lot of times they're in faith-based communities. And so we look at how they're using their community resources. And some of our communities have gotten really savvy about how to get their service providers all wrapping around the kids so that they provide everything from dental care, health care, attendance supports, things like that, so that the schools themselves are supported in those needs. And again, I'd be happy to provide for you more information specific to your area for how to do that and what we can do to help you.
I would love that, not only for my area, I would just like to see what the state is
Sure.
doing overall to
Yeah.
make sure that we're giving them, the services that they need, because I see that with this $179 million, that's a lot of money. But I only see 15% on early learning.
Yeah, so, and you mentioned the 0 through 3.
Right.
So the Department of Early Care and Learning works with us on that 0 to 5 age group.
Mm-hmm.
And they already have support systems in place, which we'll try to include on some follow-up information for you. The 15% is a federal earmark.
Okay.
Within the L4GA grant competition, we had to follow those guidelines of 15% for early learning, 40% for elementary, and then 20 for middle and 20 for high.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just to follow up, when we're asking questions, look back to see if you can continue, because we maybe need to move on. I just want to, just a question, really follow up on Representative Dickerson's. On page 5 of the thing, you show the differences in how we've done. Now, are all these data and skills and things that you are doing, are you sharing them throughout all the systems in the state? Is there a mechanism that you're showing what's working in, like if she's asking, in the lowest performing schools or even in the higher? And even throughout, right from the start, pre-K? How is that sharing done?
So there's a Schools Like Mine website where you can look at your data, and we have a public place where anybody can go, Georgia Insights. You can also look at your CCRPI or College Career Readiness Performance Dashboard, but Georgia Insights has even more information than just that. So there are two places
Well,
that are
excuse me,
public.
ma'am, I guess I'm more talking about skills and the techniques that are improving that this grant money, I would assume, has created. The skills that they've got to how throughout the state of Georgia, not just in the grant counties, can benefit from it. I guess that's what I'm after. Because maybe what low-performing school that Representative Dickerson is talking about is not listed in one of the ones that may be in there. How are we spreading that information?
So-
And maybe for you, Mr. Superintendent, I don't know which one.
Yeah.
Because I think it's imperative that we've got a grant, how are we making it work for the entire state?
So there's several, so are you talking about teaching resources? Are
Yes,
you talking about in leadership strategies?
Best practices?
Yes, that's what I'm
Okay.
asking. Any of that?
So within the SLDS, the Student Longitudinal Data System, we have teacher resources in there. And then we've also created a public site that carries the same, so think of it as you have a server with the information, and you can launch it within SLDS as private, and you can also launch it in a website that's public. So we launched those teacher resources in both places. We also have supports for leaders as they're trying to think strategically about this. Within SLDS, it's called the School Improvement Dashboard, where they can start to see where their metrics are, and then we have a Schools Like Mine place where where they can find schools that have similar demographics as theirs but are achieving better, and so they have all the information to contact that school. The principal's name and all that's kept up. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sort of. We'll follow. I'll need to know
okay.
more. Go ahead, Superintendent.
I would just say, one of the things, we have seminars where we bring, people together across the state and they share best practices. We are working with higher ed. I think that one of the things, we're trying to strive is that they train our teachers. And I think it's, as you shared, sometimes what we find out is that many of the younger grades, especially K-5, I mean, they teach everything. So they're not necessarily, I would say, reading specialists once they leave. So it is trying to reinforce the point with higher ed that, we need to do a better job training the teacher before they get into the classroom. So, I mean, we have an ongoing, and I think we have a higher ed group that we talk with and trying to look at best practices as well. We encourage our groups to share. Of course, our recess, again, speaking it is very
Sure.
comprehensive. So it's multifaceted on that end.
Yes, sir. Senator James, I think we got you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Chairman, I have had groups of people to come in to see me since the session started. One was the mayor of Fairburn, Georgia, with two city council persons, and they said they have no early learning in the city of Fairburn at all, and they want to know how they can get on the list because they want it in their city. So that was one concern. Another was a group that have children with autism. And they said the summer programs that are available through our system did not have a place for kids with autism. But those kids need to learn all year round and not just during the regular school system, because they will learn so much, and then when they start back a few months later, it's almost like starting over again. So that's a concern. So I want to know where we are on that. And the biggest group that came to see me was on the school lunches, and they said that have a lot to do with the learning. And now they're saying that they have to pay all over Georgia for get money and pay for the child to have school lunches if you make over $10,000, $20,000 a year. But they might have 4 or 5 children, and they say they still need their kids to have free lunch. So I needed someone to talk to me about what we could do to get a sliding scale or something so that these children will not be hungry and they'll be able to learn. Because if the parents cannot pay that money, like she said, she paid $20 for each one of her children, and the money is gone already, and so she has to come up with more money to put in. It's like a bank, and they draw from it. So please just share with me, because they think that's an integral part of their learning if they're not eating.
Totally agree. that would be an integral part. We'd have to get back to you on that specific problem, because I'm not part of our school nutrition team.
I have they gave me papers about this thing, so
Okay.
I'll make sure. Give me your card and I'll get them to you.
Okay, and then you asked about access to early learning.
For autistic, access to early learning in Fairburn, Georgia.
Yeah, so that would go through the Department of Early Care and Learning, and just about anyone can start a learning program, and then DECAL provides a lot of supports to get a program up and running. They provide a lot of support systems. They would want to help you get an early learning center, or there's also family provided, like we call the Friends and Family Network, FNF, but they can do it in a home, and they can still go up for quality rated, even if they're providing supports in a home environment for early learning. So I would connect you with the Department of Early Care and Learning.
Thank you.
And we can get some. We would love to work with your county commissioners and try to get some folks in your local county to get some early learning opportunities for kids.
That'd be excellent. Yeah, thank you.
And one of the things we do in the L4GA grants is we say, if you're getting this grant money and you don't have early learning access, like, you can use some of the monies to get that, if that's what your county decides that's what it needs. But it really has to be locally determined as to where the gaps are.
It's a Fulton County school, but it's the city of Fairburn.
Okay.
So I need some help, but the autism, what do I tell them?
So how old are the kids? Do you know?
They're elementary and middle school, and they say that you have summer literacy or something, but they wouldn't accept the kids from special education, from autism anyway.
Yeah. That's not something that the Department of Education is providing and not accepting. So we'd have to follow up with you on the specific context of that in order to understand it so that we can help solve the problem.
I hope I'm articulating it correctly, but I do have the information that they gave me. So I was going to call someone to sit down with them
Yeah.
to talk about it. Thank you.
Senator James, I'm
Okay, I'm ready.
But
Yes.
don't let her leave
Don't let.
without you talking to her. Now, fortunately, it's just House members that have got this all lit up. And so we'll probably bring you back to a House meeting where we can dig into this a little bit more because literacy is so important. But we've got to move on because I've only got 2 hours.
Thank you,
So
Mr.
members,
Chairman.
we'll follow up with them. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Thank y'all for presenting. Georgia Partnership for Excellence in Education. We all passed out your books today. I hate to tell you, Steve, what I told them on the House floor, I don't know if you heard it or not, was that I hope that they would take your fine book and read one thing out of it. You're gonna read it all,
Sparkers
but
alive.
good. I mean, well, there's a lot of great information in there, and but just trying to encourage people to do that. So we turn the floor over to you.
Well, thank you, sir. And Mr. Chairman and members of the committees, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to come back and present our 16th annual Top 10 Issues to Watch. All the members of the House and Senate have already received a personal copy. We've given you an additional one today for this meeting. Since you have extra one, you can give that to a friend or colleague if you'd like. Let me just go through quickly the layout of the publication. Right inside the cover, you can see the table of contents. Then the way it's laid out is to give you a framework of research. You know the Georgia Partnership is nonpartisan, so we want to give you the best research that we can find on these issues. And the first part would be an issue overview, gives you kind of that national and state scan of what's going on with the issue. The second part is the significance of Georgia. So that starts bringing it down to what we need to chew on. But the most important part, and the part perhaps for you and what could have some indications on legislation that you're debating, would be action steps for Georgia. So we'd like for you to take a look at that. We rolled this out about 2 weeks ago with our annual media symposium that's hosted by Georgia Public Broadcasting. That brings about 20-some reporters and other organizational communication directors from around the state. It's helpful for us to give reporters 10 issues that they can write about, but it also sets it up for Dr. Dana Rickman and me to be a resource for reporters as they're trying to dig into issues and those that you're debating, and sometimes reporters don't understand both sides. They can come to us and ask us for some of that background. Probably a highlight of that symposium, we gave a few of the top 10 issues, but had speakers on some of the others. But we wrapped the day up, it's a full day, we wrapped the day up with a panel that both Senator Martin and Representative Lopez Romero participated in. So it gave reporters some really good background as we launched into this legislative session. Senator Martin said that we could take about 8 or 10 minutes for each of these issues. As we, no, no, he didn't say that. Actually, we're not going to go over all of them. You can see the list on the slide in just a minute, but Dr. Dana Rickman, who is the author of this award-winning publication, will go over some of these and we'll be glad to entertain questions.
But
Dana?
one thing, that Dr. Rickman, we're going to have to get a large format one for some of us to read. So a member came up to me and said, Rick, I have to get new glasses to read this thing. But it's true. But it's well done. I'm just teasing, but we
Well, and
appreciate
good
you.
news for you, too, that our communications director, Robert Gaines, has also developed one-page summaries of each of the issues that you can go on to our website, gpee.org, and just download the one-pagers. For those of you who like to stay up late at night, you can read the whole thing. As you can see, the top 10 issues are in front of you and up on the screen. I'm not going to go into detail on all 10, and I probably won't go into detail on many. I just want to talk very generally about what's in the book this year, and then we can take questions both generally or specifically to dive into any issues. For those of you who are familiar with the top 10, historically, while all education issues are related, It's really hard to separate them out. Typically, though, we've just presented 10 issues: early learning, middle grades, post-secondary kind of thing. This year, the issue is, the book is a little bit different. That when we were planning out the issue, we saw some research that had just been published by SREB, the Southern Regional Education Board. And their research indicated that if nothing changes in Georgia, due to like our demographics and things, if nothing changes, that by 2030, 10 years from now, Georgia will have 1.5 million workers and their children that are unemployable. That's not unemployed. The word is unemployable. Like, we currently have a skills gap, meaning that the jobs that are available don't match the skills of our current population. That skills gap is going to continue to grow due to modernization and automation, and as our economy is changing, the skills of our population are not matching that. And so we really have a challenge in Georgia where we need more of our population, both coming through the education pipeline, but even our current adult population, to get those skills, engage in education, and have more people with some sort of post-secondary diploma. And to be clear, when I talk about post-secondary diploma, I don't just mean like a 4-year degree. Actually, we need more people with certificates and credentials and associate's degree and those hard skill, high skill labor jobs. That's where Georgia's economy is growing. So as we look to plan the 10 this year, they are in no particular priority order, but they are in a particular sort of order as people go through the birth to work pipeline, that each issue is really looking at that question of, what do we need as Georgians to be doing today to address the educational issues that we have directly in front of us, but what kind of systematic long-term changes do we need to be putting in place now that will stave off that 1.5 million problem that we are facing in 2030? So it's much more of a holistic look across the entire birth to work pipeline. And so I just want to give a couple of mentions to a couple of issues, and like I said, again, we can, in the time allowed, we can dive deeper if you have particular questions. The first one, the Preparing for 2030, that really gets at the demographic shifts that I think a lot of you are aware of, but especially the impact that poverty has had on our population. And I think Superintendent Woods and DOE have highlighted what a severe detriment that is to the ability for students to learn and families to be prosperous. Early learning, the foundations that are so important, but literacy, the great equalizer. We just heard a lot from Dr. Dooley about what Georgia's doing, especially to get kids reading on grade level. That issue looks at that in particular, but it's a much broader issue that we really need to be thinking about two-generation, multi-generational approaches to literacy. As you see in the book, that current illiteracy levels of our adult working population cost Georgia millions of dollars in economic development every year because our adult population can't read at a level that they can engage in the economy. And the number one predictor of a child's ability to read on 3rd grade, their mother's education level. Fathers are off the hook. It's always the mom. And so we have a generation, a multi-generation of low-income parents who are their child's best teacher, who can't be their best teacher. Because they themselves struggle educationally. So as we move forward with thinking about how do we educate the entire workforce pipeline, we must remember the current adults out there and how to re-engage them. Student success, barriers to the schoolhouse, it kind of gets at a question that you had earlier, Senator James. These are health barriers to success. There's lots of reasons that children struggle in school, and some of them have to do with cognitive abilities and learning abilities, but a lot of them have to do with other things. And so it's things like hunger, dental pain, physical health, mental health, all of these other things that really are a challenge for our students in our schools and our communities. Georgia's doing a lot looking at sort of the whole child and how do communities come together to provide services to support the learning. Rural poverty, I wanted to call out in endangering opportunity. There's a lot of work and attention, as you all know, going on around rural Georgia right now. Most of Georgia's economic growth is concentrated in the Atlanta area. Some of the other metro areas are growing as well, like Savannah, Augusta, but primarily it's the Atlanta metro area that's doing most of Georgia's growth. Well, Atlanta has grown, and it used to be as, so goes Atlanta, so goes the rest of the state. Well, we're all now stuck in traffic. We've grown so much, and so we really need to pay attention to the rest of the state. And if we don't re-engage rural Georgia in our economic growth, Georgia's economy overall will start to turn around. And so there's a lot of different efforts going on in rural right now Senator Jaspers has the House Rural Education Committee. The Georgia Chamber has their Rural Prosperity. Governor Kemp has his Rural Strikes Task Force. All of these things are great and necessary and gives us opportunities to re-engage rural, but there's lack of a overall conversation about rural education in general in that pipeline and access to good, high-quality education that gives rural kids access to post-secondary as well. Those conversations are starting to happen more and more, especially related to dual enrollment, which we get at a little bit more in the school-to-work pathway. But we really need to think collectively across all of these rural initiatives and sort of leverage each other's work in that area to really do some powerful, innovative work. And so I'll just end with a couple of big takeaways. I think as a state, we need to start thinking differently about the purpose of education. It used to be that you get that high school diploma and you're good to go. And then it used to be you get that post-secondary diploma and you're good. See you later, have a great life, enjoy your family. The way automation is changing so fast and our economy is changing so fast, we need to think how to engage the entire Georgia population in a world of just lifelong learning. How do we get people to get the skills that they need to give the jobs to have them participate in the economy? As the economy shifts, they need to go back to school and they need to get new skills. They need to upskill, and we need to continually think about lifelong learning as just the goal of education and that there's no finish line. It's just an avenue to more success. That's the big takeaway. And then also this two-generational, multi-generation approach. There's some great work that's going on now between DECAL, the Department of Early Care and Learning, and TCSG, the Technical College System of Georgia. How do you serve those the students, especially the student parents? How do you serve those populations together? How do you involve communities? We heard some examples already about the L4GA grant. These are sort of community initiatives to get kids reading on grade level. And so I just think overall, to step back and take a much more holistic approach of how all of the different silos can work together.
In the past, you've heard us talk a lot about how Georgia is improving. You probably remember several years ago when we had the brand that Georgia was last, and that was particularly with the SAT scores. Well, we're not now. We are in the teens with our AP courses. We're in the middle of the pack with a lot of our other achievement. So Georgia's doing better. We still have ways to go to be competitive, but we're doing a lot better. Now our focus has to be on how can we, kind of like Jim Collins' book, How Do You Make a Good Thing Better? Great. We're doing some good things, but we have these issues now, and Dana mentioned the phrase upscale. You're going to hear that a lot. You'll read about it a lot in our work. The Georgia Chamber's talking about that. With automation, AI is going to be a big issue, technological advancements. There are a lot of jobs that we're going to lose in Georgia, but there are going to be a lot of new jobs. And that's what we want to make sure that people are ready for. And we're going to have them prepared to be literate as adults or young high school grads, that they can continue their education, as Dana said. We've talked about lifelong learning for a long time, but now it's becoming a real big issue and an economic issue in our state.
Happy to take questions.
Well, I thank you. I mean, when you first look at your book, you just think an incredible amount of work that's went into it. I think I assume that you work year-round on it. You're working on the next one now, probably, I would imagine. But we appreciate the work you've done, and hopefully that this committee will read more than one. When I was on the House floor today, I said, please read one. Maybe y'all can read 2 or 3 in the time that we have. But y'all are great, and we thank you very much for being with us today.
And Mr. Chairman, anyone who liked these hard copies, Dana mentioned that Dr. Robert Gaines, our communication director, is here, but it's also on our website, gpee.org. They can look at electronic copies there.
Now, who's your communications person? Wait, there we go. Need to
Gaines.
give you a shout out. You took pictures of them, I'm sure. All right, good. Well, thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Man of many skills, Matt Arthur and his folks for the professional standards. Committee, I heard Matt and them talk the other day, and I thought it would be very important for you to listen to the work they've done, with educators, and appreciate y'all being here, Matt. It's nice to see you again, ma'am.
Thank you. It's good to be here again, Mr. Chairman. And we appreciate the opportunity to share with you all a program that's called the Preparation Program effectiveness measure that we use and our colleges use to evaluate themselves on the programs that put out teachers. And we have 4 basic things that we're responsible for at the PSC. We're responsible for the preparation of teachers. We're responsible for the assessment of them. We're responsible for the certification of all the teachers and leaders in the state. And we're also, all the ethics violations come through us also. So it's a small agency, but it covers a lot of ground, and a lot of people go through it. This tool that we've just come out with, and of course I just joined it, and Penny and Joy are going to really talk about the program itself, but it is there for the public. It's there for you to go on. You can look. We're going to go through it so you can evaluate. You can see how the college in your area, what teachers are saying about their program, people that went through it, leaders are saying about their program, what they're saying about their own program. And we didn't put that together by ourselves. We put it together working hand in hand with colleges and with K through 12 as we do everything else. So,
And I'll just interject, committee, if you remember last year at a point, this was a big, we all talked about this, about what are colleges doing, how are they preparing, and that's what we're going to learn about. And I think it's I was glad to see the work that y'all have done.
okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. McCroy and Joy Fathi.
All right, thank you. And it's a pleasure to be with you all today. Thank you very much. The preparation program effectiveness measures exist for what you see here, these 71 education preparation program providers. That's a mix of colleges and universities, public and private, and then our non-traditional program providers, and those are the Georgia TAP programs for career changers, folks who have perhaps worked in business and industry for a number of years and have decided they want to become a teacher, and they will enter a Georgia TAP program to gain their certification. Now, Matt alluded to this, but I just wanted to put it out there for you just to reiterate. Our goal is to provide for every student in the state of Georgia the absolute best teacher possible, the absolute best leader possible. We want every student in this state to have great educators working with them. So these effectiveness measures, and we are guilty of using acronyms all the time, so if I use an acronym you don't recognize, please let me know.
I thought I knew them all. I'm not even close.
Oh, there's a never-ending supply of acronyms. PPEMs are for teacher preparation programs currently. Those are in place, and we have coming in the next year or so leader preparation program effectiveness measures. Now, as you see, there are 3 purposes are really driving this work, and they are listed in order. The most important purpose of this work is improvement. We expect, and we already have examples of program providers using these measures to make improvements in their programs. We also, of course, have a responsibility to you and to the public to provide this information, to make it available so that folks who are perhaps interested in becoming an educator have access to it. And then, of course, that final purpose there, accountability, we also have the responsibility to monitor the quality of programs in the state of Georgia. And so this is one tool that we use to monitor program quality. And real quickly, before Joy gets into the exciting stuff with you, I wanted to just elaborate a little bit on what Matt said about the fact that we created this system hand in hand with our program providers, and that is absolutely accurate. And it did take some time. We worked on the development for about 5 years to bring it to fruition to where it is right now. We've had actually 2 task forces, and both of those were comprised of folks from the colleges and the universities that are affected by this, from the RESA programs that are affected by it, and then also from our professional associations and our sister state agencies. We had representatives from DOE, from GOSA, from the university system on our task forces. Now, we also have continued that engagement with our stakeholders by developing a standing advisory council. And that group is similar in composition to what I've already said. They meet with us twice a year, and we pose questions to them about the system, everything from the look and feel to the calculations to how it's being rolled out. They have given us just instrumental feedback to help us all along the way, and we will continue to meet with them to get feedback from them on how the data are being used, how they're being implemented. And so that's important to us to always have that feedback from stakeholders. They have really been instrumental in helping us get to where we are. And so this is just a brief model that represents the process that we use, and this is a continuous process for us. We collect data, we model those data, we share that with our advisory council, we get their feedback, and then we make refinements. And that's something that we're always in that loop of continuous improvement. So now Joy is going to, if you'll direct your attention to the podium, Joy is going to walk you through how these measures are calculated.
Hi everyone. Sorry I'm hiding from you back here, but you'll see in a moment why, because I'm going to show you our dashboard that the public see in case any of you have not had a chance to explore it yourselves. But first, just so you know what you're looking at, some basics of the PPEM calculation. So when I refer to the PPEM, I'm talking in this instance about the teacher PPEM, just so that you know that. The PPEM contains both in-program and outcome measures. That was very important to our various task forces and advisories that, you know, teachers are all the time judged on how their students do in the classroom. And so it was very important to those groups that preparation programs also that we look at how their completers did once they were actually out in the field and affecting students' learning. And the division between those two is 50-50. On the right-hand side, you have program measures. The red is EdTPA, that's 30%. That is a performance assessment of classroom practice. And the GACE is 20%, that's a standardized assessment of content knowledge, and both of those are required for most fields for certification in the state of Georgia. Then on the left-hand side, you have the outcome measures. The teacher assessment on performance standards, that's a part of the TKES, Teacher Keys Effectiveness System in Georgia, that's run by the Georgia Department of Education. That is 30% because, again, that's in the classroom, so that was really important to weight that heavily. And then we have 10% each in the darker green and the brown to an employer survey and an inductee teacher survey. Both of those surveys are administered near the end of the teacher's first year in the classroom. So once the teacher's really been out there and experienced the rigors of K-12 education, how well do they think they were prepared? And then a similar set of questions on the employer end for those same inductee teachers. So that's just the basic breakdown and how everything is weighted. And then just as an additional note, the PPEM aggregates 3 prior years of data. So if you're looking at it, you're seeing the 2019 calculation, but that's actually pulling in data that was collected in 18, 17, and 16, and in a few instances, 2019 as well. Part of that, really largely that, is because of the need to be able to give reliable information back to smaller providers and programs, of which we have quite a few. And so when you aggregate 3 years of data, we're able to reach our minimum N size of 10. Below 10 individuals with data, we would not consider that reliable for generating a score. 10 and above we do. And that's how we get there, is that 3-year aggregation. The calculation as a whole generates 4 ratings. Level 4, Level 3, Level 2, and Level 1. We try to keep the emphasis on those numbers because, as you all can kind of tell, if you if you attach value labels to some of these things, it can be hard for the focus then for the individuals getting those ratings to remain focused on improvement. And that's really where we wanted the focus to be, of those 3 priorities of their need to improve. So we really wanted to reinforce those numbers. Now they do have meanings, and in order to understand them, it's important that we just note them for you. So level 4 is exemplary. Those are those that are doing significantly better than the majority of providers in the state. Level 3 is effective. That's very solid. Level 1 is low performing. And level 2, this one's a little tricky. It is at risk of low performing. But we really want, if you're looking at the dashboard and seeing level 2s, we really want your mental focus to be on the at-risk part of that phrase rather than the low-performing part of that phrase. The level 2s are not themselves low-performing, but we give that designation as sort of a warning track to let them know, providers know, that should they fall further in their scores, they could fall into that low-performing category. We want to give them that heads up with that designation, but it really is at risk. For us at GAPSC, acceptable ratings are levels 2, 3, and 4. We desire them, of course, to be at level 3 and 4, so we know they're very safe and solid, but levels 2 and up are acceptable for us, and hopefully they will be for you as well as you're looking at the dashboard. And just a little bit on the distribution of those ratings. So in academic year 2019, about 1 in 4 received a level 4, an additional 2/3 received a level 3, and about 1 in 10, 6 providers got a level 2. We don't have any level 1s at this time, but that we would expect that to change at some point in the future. And the various impacts of the PPM as a whole, not just the dashboard, I'm going to align these to our 3 purposes again: improvement, transparency, and accountability. For improvement, we are providing to educator preparation providers detailed data in a secure provider-facing dashboard. So that's on our internal site. People who work at those providers can log on and see really, really detailed data down to the domain level of how they're doing on these various measures. And in response to that data, they are developing improvement plans aligned with the weaknesses, opportunities to improve, and strengths that they see in their own data. And throughout that, we support them. We provide technical assistance. So far, that has taken the form of webinars, virtual meetings with individual providers, small groups of providers that are of concern or that have a high interest in this, sessions at statewide conferences, and data labs at those conferences were always a big favorite, where provider representatives can sit down one-on-one with myself or one of the members of our IT staff and talk about their detail and data and really walk through that dashboard data together. Then under transparency, we provide high-level data in a public dashboard, so scores, ratings, and contextualizing data for the public to see. And under accountability, the PPM ratings, the overall ratings, have implications for our program approval and review cycle. And one of the big ones is that that cycle is 7 years long. But so when we calculate the PPMs annually, it gives us a little more of a check as we're going along so we can identify potential areas for improvement sooner. We have more information on gapsc.com/educatorpreparation/ppems.aspx. You don't need to write that down. We will get that to you. Or you can take a little shot with your phone. And if you have specific questions that you don't think of while you're sitting here, or if members of the audience do, you are also welcome to email ppems@gapsc.com. And now for the fun part. If you will be patient with me one moment while I bring up the dashboard itself. So I'm going to show you all how to navigate here, and this is the easy way. If you go to www.gapsc.com, we've got a news and announcements, and the third announcement down is new public dashboard. So if you click on that, it will pull up our teacher preparation program effectiveness measure public dashboard. And if I need to, I can zoom in a little bit further in a moment. I just want to give you a look across the top. So you have drop downs where you can look a specific provider, or you can actually select one provider and then select an area of preparation underneath that. So say you wanted to look at UGA's elementary education program. You could do that through these top drop downs. Let me zoom in just a little bit more so you guys can see. But this list shows all of the providers. You'll see here very dominant on the left is the overall rating. That is that combination. That's where we use that pie chart and creating that overall rating. That's really the number that you should focus on for each provider. But we do also show a breakdown by those 5 metrics that we established before: EdTPA, GACE, TAPS, the 2 surveys. And then at the very end, a little bit of context data, the average number of completers each year over the last 3 years, and the provider type. And one thing to note about the overall ratings versus the measure level ratings are not used in calculating the overall ratings. Those are there as a guide to give people who are looking at, say, the EdTPA, a big picture idea of how that university or provider is doing in relation to others. But this overall rating is what is the most important to look at. And I'm gonna let you see what we can see at the provider level, but I'm sure you guys will want to explore this on your own for providers in your districts, or just ones that you're interested in. So I've just pulled up University of Georgia, and we see a bunch of tabs across the top. I'm going to stick on the overview tab for now. We see their effectiveness rating. There are 4, which is exemplary, which is thrilling for them and us. The measure breakdown, we see our program measures. We see the actual points that they earn for, say, EdTPA and GACE, and the level there. So this is, so far, except for the points, everything that you were already able to see on the landing page. You do also see for that provider the overall index score. So for UGA, that's 184. And you can see a little chart of what levels attach to which index scores. Beneath that, calculation basics, which is a lot of what I've just gone over with you. At the very bottom of that, technical specifications document, should you want to see more information, or are linked to the PPMs at gipsc.com. Now I'm going to hit our program measures tab. Here's where you can see a little bit more about those program measures. So tells you, for your interested but maybe not in the education field member of the public, it tells you what the EdTPA is, what the GACE is, with links to further information on those. You can see the number of individuals contributing data, which could be a really important piece of context for people looking at this. The outcome measures tab is really similar, so I'm going to skip that. But provider context, my own personal favorite, is where we get a lot of information that's not used in calculating the PPM, but would potentially be useful to someone who is considering a program. Maybe they're deciding between them, and they want to know, well, what's the average entry GPA for people that are candidates that are going into this program? What's the average exit GPA? The average hours of actual student teaching that's performed? Years of experience of mentor teachers? We can see the portions of post-baccalaureate versus baccalaureate completers. We can see the 3-year trend. You do see a declining trend here. That is a statewide trend. A breakdown by race, ethnicity, and gender. Employment rates over the previous 3 years. And finally, employment by area, which I think this one is especially cool because you can see where people from a particular provider go and teach and get hired then in their first employed year. And that is something, all of this is something that you can see for any provider. So you can explore through and see how many of them end up going to Metro, how many of them stay here. I think this could be really valuable to some folks. And I believe that's all that I wanted to show you on this. Let me just show you real quick that if you go back to our homepage, if you want to see a whole bunch of additional resources, educator preparation link at the top, and then there is a link to the side that is called PPEM. You go to that link, you have a link to our dashboard there, but you also have a plethora of resources, guidance, related articles, timeline, FAQs that you can explore further. But also just get in touch if you have questions. We'll be happy to answer them.
A bunch of data. But I think if I were a principal hiring person, this would be invaluable. And just to kind of let me know where I'm at. Hey, I got time for one question. Senator Sims, I believe that's yours. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick question about teacher mental health. And recently, and I'm asking that because recently I was in the beauty shop, and everything's talked about in the beauty shop. And along with visiting my doctor, and she said, many of my patients, like the beautician said, many of her patients are females that come in. They are so stressed. The hair is falling out, the whole nine. What are we doing? And maybe I should not ask what are we doing, but what can we do to help our teachers? This is why we lose a lot of them. We're saying it's because of pay, not necessarily. And we lose a lot because of the leadership, building leadership, along with the leadership at the central office level. So what are we going to do to help those? Well, maybe I'll just throw that out there and we'll work on it.
You know, from our standpoint, we'll look at those. We're looking at the programs. One thing that I know that we're going to be looking at, Senator, is just how efficient can we make it? How smooth can we make it for a student that wants to go into teaching, to make sure there are no barriers there. Make sure there are no barriers for the best of those teachers that want to become leaders to go in to that field. And I think one thing is that as a society and as a state, we need to start telling people, you need to go into teaching. It's a good field. It's a service. It's a service field, and it's a good field. Not telling people don't go into teaching. The stress is there. A lot of it is the type people that go into teaching. My wife is a teacher. My daughter is a teacher. My mother was a teacher. I'm a teacher. You know, there's a lot of stress involved. You've got 25 students there that are your responsibility. And, but we need from our part, we need to make it as seamless as we can to make it easy, because it's hard enough when you get there.
And I would just like to add, if I may, Senator Sims, you mentioned the leadership of the school buildings, and that's critical. And our preparation for educational leaders does address dispositions, the attitudes, and that disposition of caring is an important one for successful leaders. And so we are in our preparation program policies addressing that in a limited, it's not a big way, and that's something that's hard to regulate. However, I did want you to know that we do address that, that it's important for leaders to be not only great instructional leaders, but good leaders of people who care about their teachers and who pay attention to wellness.
What K
Go ahead,
what K through 12 is doing, trying to get as much help as they can to the whole child, is also going to relieve some stress for those teachers, because teachers take that responsibility on themselves. And so what Superintendent Woods was saying is very important that they're trying to do, and it's a great thing all the way across the board, not just for that student.
I'm just curious, I don't know who can answer this, is when this report was made public, and you had people who were 4s and 3s and 2s, was there a scramble or calls to you saying, why am I X, or 2, 3, whatever? But I know that happened. It's just what it is. But what are they to do about that? Do they have? I mean, I think it's the bottom line. It's great. Okay, I'm a 2. How can I be a 3? Do we, or you provide like a roadmap?
Yeah, and I'm gonna let Dr. McCoy talk about it, because there is a plan.
We've just got a couple of minutes, so if we can kind of.
Yeah, I'll be quick.
Because
First,
there is pressure on them to improve.
I would hope.
Everybody's looking at it.
Yeah.
right. First of all, they were not surprised because they had access to this information before it became public.
Okay.
We, as I mentioned earlier, we've had them with us all along, and so no one was surprised. They do have a responsibility to create an action plan if they're at a level 2. We monitor those action plans. We also connect them with the providers that are performing at those higher levels. So we know for instance, what UGA is doing at a level 4, we're able to make connections with folks at UGA to a provider that is performing at a level 2. And then we can't necessarily say this is how you need to do it, but we can make sure that they have access to resources and that they understand what's expected of them.
Go ahead, Ms. Becky.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to confirm, is this for schools or is it for individual teachers?
Everybody.
Or it's for all of them?
It's for all of them.
Okay.
And you too.
And you too.
And me too?
Yeah,
Yes.
The public
everybody,
can go look.
everyone.
It's open.
Teachers can, colleges can, schools can, everyone.
Okay.
It's on our website.
Okay. I'll have to take a look.
Please, please.
I don't have a question.
I know. I'm turning it over to you. Thank you, Matt.
Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty, next up, a good friend of mine who was recently hired as a Deputy Superintendent of Schools for the Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice. And she reached out to me and asked if she could present to make sure that the committee knew what we were doing in the Department of Juvenile Justice with our children. So we have Miss Monica Henson and also Zachary Lewis here to talk to that. Take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. We'll be brief. I know we're pressed for time. And just wanted to reiterate on that. A lot of people probably outside of this room don't know that we operate our own school system within the Department of Juvenile Justice. And just really appreciate the opportunity to come present. And hopefully we'll have the chance to engage with you one-on-one and later dates. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Henson.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Senator Martin. I greatly appreciate this opportunity. One of the good things about being an old warhorse, and you see the silver in my hair, is that you get to know a lot of the folks who are in this world. And I was catching up with Matt Arthur at the beginning of this meeting, and when Matt was superintendent up in Rabun County, I was principal of Highlands School in Highlands, North Carolina, right up the mountain. And my cousin Jim was Matt's primary school principal in Rabun County. So, and there are a lot of folks in here in this room that I have worked with or gotten to know over the years. And I was delighted to discover that PK and I are both retired high school basketball officials. So that's a tight network there. It's probably tighter than the coaches network. And I used to live in Representative Jaspers's district. So thank y'all for this opportunity. And I want to share with you information about our school system, but I really would welcome the opportunity for y'all to ask me questions, and happy to answer all of those. As Senator Martin said, a lot of folks don't realize that the Department of Juvenile Justice operates a school district, and we are a public school system in Georgia, just like Atlanta Public Schools, just like Gwinnett County. We are an LEA, a local educational agency. I noticed you mentioned a good old Decula boy on the staff over there. I started teaching in 1985 at Decula High School when there were only 350 children in that school, in that high school. But Department of Juvenile Justice is a social services agency. We are not part of the Department of Corrections. We are not a corrections facility. Although we do hold children in secured custody, we are a social services agency. We're a true wraparound service provider for the youth that we serve. And we serve youth up to the age of 21. And we have 26 facilities. We've got more than 4,000 employees. That's not just teachers, that's all of the folks that interact with our kids. And we serve a lot of our children in community supervision, meaning they go on probation or parole. So in many of those cases, they go back to their local school district after being with us for a short amount of time. So we have 29 campuses in our school system. And in those campuses, as I said, we offer complete wraparound services. We offer behavioral and mental health services and support, dental care, medical care. We feed them. We provide them with recreational opportunities. And for part of the day, we offer them schooling. And we operate regional youth detention centers, which are the temporary facilities where a student will come to us. I call them a student, not a detainee, but they are with us for a short amount of time. It could be a few weeks, it could be a few months. Then they are generally placed into some kind of community supervision in most cases. The youth development campuses are colloquially referred to as the juvenile prisons, and these are our long-term facilities. And the education transition centers were developed for the cases where we have youth who are out of custody and because of the nature of their offense are not being admitted back into their local school system because of the nature of the offense that was committed. So we offer them educational opportunity through these transition centers. We are the 181st school district, but we are so much more than that. We offer middle and high school through our program called Georgia Preparatory Academy. So when a child graduates, they get a diploma that says Georgia Preparatory Academy. It is accredited by Advanced Ed, just like all of the other school systems, and we follow the state curriculum, the Georgia Standards of Excellence. Students who remain with us after they complete high school can go into our Connections graduate program, and we link them with post-secondary opportunities, workforce training, internships perhaps, enrollment in technical college, or perhaps even in the university system. We also offer at all of these locations something called Pathways to Success, which is a GED program, and so that's available. We have a full-service school system just like you would find anywhere in Georgia. Our teachers are certified by the Georgia Professional Standards Commission, so are our administrators. Many of us came from the traditional public school system. As I mentioned, I had started out in Gwinnett County back when the earth was cooling, and have gone into pretty much every administrative job you can hold, and I've worked in several states. But I attained a superintendent position several years ago, and I'm now at the stage of my career as I'm looking, 60 is getting closer and closer. This is missionary work for me, and it's missionary work, for our teachers. And Senator Sims, what you had to say about the mental health of our staff is absolutely just as true for us as it is in the low-performing Title I school systems around the state. Okay. We do offer comprehensive special education and Title I services and support. We serve about double the state average of special ed students. And a quick thing I'll tell you is we had an IEP team meeting yesterday, and we had a child who requested, and his attorney supported, that he remain in detention until he completes his high school programming because he loves his special ed teachers that work with him. So when I say that this is missionary work, I'm absolutely deadly serious. We do offer Title I. We are a statewide Title I program. We offer health and PE, but there's an awful lot more that we need to offer. Last year, we served more than 5,000 students. We awarded 37 high school diplomas and 70 GEDs. I would like to see those ratios starting to reverse. I would like to be issuing more high school diplomas. And we offered technical certificates of credit, and 68 kids got them. But even though we served more than 5,000 students, at any given time, we may only have 1,500 to 2,000 physically in our custody. But we have very high mobility of kids going in and out of our system and going back into their local school system, committing another offense, coming back to us. So there's a revolving door for some of these students. And if you think of something that's said quite frequently about the public school system in this country, is that it's become the hospital for the ills of society. And if you think of schools that way, we're MD Anderson. Every kid that walks in my door is already at stage 4. We have 3 themes that we're focusing on as we get ready to rewrite our strategic plan and go through our reaccreditation for advanced ed. And we're focusing on high tech, high touch, and high impact. We are very fortunate to have a grant from the governor's office that is going to enable us to build a technology network. Right now, all of our campuses, our education classrooms, if they were networked, which they are not, would be on the state network, which can't be filtered, so it can't be used for education purposes. We're getting ready to build a dedicated network just for our education classrooms. And when we finish doing that, we're going to start buying computers and desktops. And we're going to be shifting away from traditional instruction to a technology-based learning model where children are going to have access to technology. They're going to be able to take computer science. They're going to be able to learn coding. They're going to be able to do those high-interest types of activities. But you cannot substitute a computer for a teacher. And when you walk into our classrooms, you are not going to see kids sitting at rows of tables with computers and teachers kind of walking around. You will see a combination of what we call high tech with high touch instruction. We have partnered with the National Dropout Prevention Center. Dr. Sandy Addis, who used to be the executive director of the Pioneer RESA, is director of that center. I've known him for a long time. And Dr. John Barge, our former state superintendent, one of my heroes, is a consultant now. He retired from McIntosh County, and he is specializing in the trauma-skilled schools model of school transformation and improvement. And so we're going to be working with them for the next 2 years on implementing the trauma-skilled schools type of teaching, where there's a heavy emphasis on addressing mental health issues, not only for the children, but also the adults who vicariously are experiencing some trauma from what we deal with our kids. Dr. Gary McGibney, you may have heard of him, and Dr. Ariane Weldon have been traveling all over Georgia, and they've been talking to school superintendents, and they have been talking to juvenile court judges, and they have been talking to law enforcement folks. Anybody that will listen, they have been sharing research that is out there now on something called language skill deficits. More than 80% of youth in custody have either a diagnosed or mostly undiagnosed deficit in the way that they process, receive, or express language. It's one of the reasons why you have so much dyslexia in your prison population as adults. But what happens in a young child with the inability to express themselves or to comprehend well what's being said to them is their behavior becomes their language, and they become labeled as a problem. And it starts a cycle of suspending a kindergartner. It's one of the craziest things I ever heard in my life, the first time I heard that. But it starts that cycle, and those kids end up becoming my students by the time they're in middle school. And Dr. McGibney and Dr. Weldon's theory, and I share with them, is that if we start attacking this aggressively, we're going to be able to reach kids. Ideally, we would do that when they're 3 years old. I'm dealing with them when they're 17 and 18, and I'm happy to do it. But I think that they're really on to something, and they have adopted us, and they're working with us. And we are collaborating with Emily Rubin from the Marcus Center using the SEEKS model, the social, emotional, engagement, knowledge, and skills, on training our teachers to be able to increase their ability to engage with their kids, particularly when there's a language deficit issue. And we have implemented as an agency PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports, not just in our classrooms, but all over our facilities. Everyone is being trained and is using PBIS. So all of these things together knit really well, I believe, into a framework of services that is going to become a model not only for children in custody, their education, and for alternative education, but I think it has implications. Y'all were asking, ladies, about the low-performing school districts and what are we doing to help them to move out of that low-performing status. I believe they're going to be able to learn from some of the things we're doing. School districts struggle with the idea of how do we incorporate wraparound services. We want to show the way. We want to show how that can happen. And we're working with the same people that they're going to be working with. In our high impact theme, which is the idea of outcomes when these children leave our care, that they're going to become productive members of society. We are going to adapt the college and career academy idea that the technical college system has done so well. And we have been adopted by the Office of the Lieutenant Governor. They've assigned someone to work with us as a thought partner. And we're collaborating with the Technical College System of Georgia with Mark Peavy, the Secondary Initiatives Director. And I always love to tell this. I was Mark's high school English teacher at Tequila High School. And he was on my Board of Education at my previous school system that I served. And he's now helping us to develop an adaptation for college and career academy opportunities for our kids in our high school. Mark Whitlock from Central Educational Center in Noonan is another thought partner. Mark and I have been talking for 15 years about, wouldn't it be great if we could take the college and career academy concept and offer it to the really high-risk kids that are not really a good fit for what's being offered in their local school system. This is our chance to have that experiment. And so he's helping us with this design. We have employers and other partners that are getting excited about what they're hearing. And we have had initial discussions with Home Depot, which already works with us in a volunteer capacity. We had a meeting this week with the utility contractors of Georgia. I have been talking to the Georgia Film Academy. But we're going to come up with, in our career academies, some pathways that are portable anywhere across the state. It doesn't matter if you go back to Young Harris, or if you are going to be in Atlanta, or if you're going to go down to Eastman, wherever you live, you would be able to use that training. So we're going to start with Eastman. We are looking at putting in things like a forklift training program. We've already got the ability to have a welding lab, culinary arts, and we're looking at the possibility in Augusta of maybe turning that into a cyber technology group of pathways. And then in Atlanta, looking at possibly the Film Academy. We're in the study process right now of deciding what are those pathways that we're going to offer. But that will give our students that very important goal of, I want to be able to go to Atlanta. I want to be able to go to Eastman. I want to be able to go to Augusta because I want to pursue a career, and that's where I'm going to get to do it. Y'all have any questions for me? I am chock full of answers.
Yeah, thank you so much for your passion on this. We can tell it's very evident. So thanks for that great presentation. Microphone one.
Mr. Howard. Yes, I concur with what the senator just said. Thank you for your passion. You hit, I don't know where to start. You hit a lot of good subject matters. I guess let's start here. Mm-hmm. Alternative schools in some of the school districts is sort of like, is there any data to tell us how many of those students end up into the system that you're in?
Yes, there's voluminous data. Off the top of my head for the current school year, I can't tell you. I'll be glad to follow up with an email message to give you exact numbers. But it really is a revolving door between the alternative programs in public school districts and the Department of Juvenile Justice. Many of our students had stopped off at the alternative school. And when they re-enter back, when they leave me and they go back into their public school system, often they are given, the only option is to go back to the alternative school. Mm-hmm. And so they will quit school rather than do that.
Follow
sir.
up. So once they are back, once they come out of your system, well, they come out of alternative and they're into your system. Is there any collaboration between
it depends.
Department of Juvenile Justice and
it depends on the school
teachers,
system.
You know, trying to do the framework for that specific child.
Yes.
Because each, you know, you're going to have different issues. But
it depends on the school system. We have closer partnerships with some districts than others. One of the things I hope to do, and I mentioned earlier about being an old warhorse and I know everybody, John Zonners back there with the Georgia School Superintendents Association, and Dr. Stokes was with the Hearing Officers Association. My hope is that by being in this role, I'll be able to work with school district leaders, they know me, and be able to build closer, better partnerships with them for the reentry of youth out of DJJ back into the local school district, and vice versa. Right now, it's kind of hit or miss. It depends, and we might have a school counselor who knows a counselor in this school district, and they'll get on the phone. But we don't really have a systematic way of dealing with that.
Yeah, because it sounds like the alternative schools are like feeder schools.
Yes. And they are.
Yeah.
They are. And that's not a criticism. I want to say it is not a criticism. And I spent a good bit of my public school career in alternative education. It's a very necessary component of the public school system. But it does become a feeder system for what we're doing. That we've got to fundamentally change the way that we do school, especially at the high school level, for high-risk kids.
We're going to keep moving. Yeah. Monica, you talk. You're so passionate. We'll keep moving around just a little bit. You need to get to know this gentleman. He'd love to talk to you more. 18. The Stovall. We're going to move quick. It's going to lightning around here.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for those changes that you're doing and implementing with our juvenile system. The question I had, and definitely commend you all on thinking ahead of time with post-high school opportunities for our young people.
Yes.
And so the question I had, I know you talked about integrating with the technical college and system. So will you, with that college and career academy, will there also be options for online dual enrollment or even kind of expanding that, I guess, that particular portion? I know they can't physically go to the college, but maybe even offering that to the students as well.
Yes, absolutely. And our technology grant is going to enable us to be able to have that kind of access for online enrollment. The exciting thing about collaborating with TCSG and creating the college and career campuses is that gives a critical mass. They need 10 kids to be able to fund an instructor to come to us. So we could have instructors from TCSG actually come to our campuses to teach the kids in person. And in many cases, that's a better way to be able to deliver. It depends on the type of courses that they're studying.
Okay. Yep.
I will follow up real quick,
Yep.
too. I do think we have an MOU with every technical school in the state of Georgia.
We're in the lightning round. You got to grab her. I bet she will be glad to engage you. Would you please?
And
Vice Chairman Chokas.
And Representative Jaspers, I'll be glad to come back anytime y'all want me to either
Well,
one of your.
we're running to our time limit, and we've got 5 minutes of work to do, and just
Okay.
we're kind of going.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Dr. Henson, I greatly appreciate your passion. And I've got a couple of questions. The first one.
You have one.
Oh, thank you. Well, how are we addressing the language and vocabulary deficit that you were describing? And how are you doing that? I mean,
What we're getting ready to do is embark on work with Georgia State University. And we have a 4-year partnership with them as part of their grant to study reading. And that's going to be one of our centerpiece programs. We provide very intensive remedial instruction, and that's a critical piece of what we do. But a lot of what we're doing is we are using a shotgun approach and treating it as a reading problem when really it's much more complex than that. And so that's why I felt that it was important to bring in big guns like Get Georgia Reading and working with the university to be able to help us refine what we're doing so we can really accurately diagnose what a child's problem is.
13, I think it's Representative Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your work, Dr. Henson. I just had a question about the recidivism rate for those who are enrolled in your program and what that looks like.
I can get you some numbers on that. We have a metric inside. It takes about 3 years to track, and it's a broad question. It's complicated. I'll come see you, and we'll get with you on that. We can get it to the committee as well if you would like to
Please,
see
thank
that.
you.
Okay, thank you.
We will be sure and follow up with the committee chairs on the specific questions that y'all have asked. I would, if y'all are
One more
finished.
question,
Okay.
one more question, madam, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, our governor established mental health commission, and I'm one of the persons that was appointed to the adolescent behavior health. And I looked at, we were looking at the fact that most of the students, most of the people who are in our prisons have mental problems.
Yes.
And they started with juveniles when they were juveniles and in the program. So are you doing something to identify those young people? And then our prisons won't be a hospital, a mental hospital, and we will put criminals there, but not people who don't need to be there.
Yes, we do have a division of student support services, and we have staff psychologists and mental health specialists, social workers, and for children who exhibit severe issues, we have an MOU with Medical College of Georgia and also Morehouse College of Medicine for those psychiatrists, and we get consulting help from them. And then there are times, y'all, I'm just going to pick up the phone and call Gary McGibney, who has got an incredible network in this state with mental health, and that is one of the major points of the school safety initiative. But we're planning, right now we have class during the day for 5.5 hours when we're working with the students. And we are collaborating with our mental health division and our secured facilities director to throw those doors open longer and incorporate. Right now, they have class for 5.5 hours, then they leave, and they go and they do their mental health groups. I want to incorporate that into the school day so that the mental health staff and the educators are working together and doing that kind of work.
And Margaret Kaywood, who's not here, our Deputy Commissioner over Support Services, will tell you if we're not the largest, we're one of the largest state providers for mental health services.
Can we talk?
Sure, absolutely.
Because the recidivism rate
Oops.
is still.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think all these folks look forward to talking to you, Monica.
Thank y'all. I want to leave you with one thing and come back to what you'd mentioned earlier about the gang presentation the governor's doing. The war on gangs in this state is not going to be won in the jail cells. It is going to be won in the classrooms. That's where we have the chance to really win that battle. So I thank y'all for your attention. Thank you.
And thank you for your passion. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This joint meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Chairman Martin. Yeah, for putting these folks together. Members, education members on the House, 5 seconds or 8. We need to have a meeting. Yep. You've got this on in your desk. You know.